welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. And this is the player ratings video for yet another frustrating derby defeat. Uh, me and Harry spoke about this on the podcast a few days ago, and I think there was a kind of sense of optimism going into this game based on how we'd started the season, but it was always going to be one of them where as long as we gave it a go, I think you know, we pretty much be able to accept whatever result came our way. And to be honest, I think it's one of them where because we did give it a good go for such a large period of the game, the frustration will be that why didn't we start with that sort of mentality that we only seemed to adopt after we went 2 goals down after half an hour. Um, and if we had started with that mentality, I think we would have been good value for a draw, to be honest. But we left ourselves with too much to do. Um, Referee didn't help things, stopped any sort of momentum that we were gaining in that second half, particularly after we got the goal back. Um, and a lot of dodgy, frustrating decisions when we were just trying to get the uh, get the game moving again. And obviously with the main talking point, of course, being Dewsbury Hall somehow getting booked for taking a free kick quickly, which has never ever been a thing and probably will never be a thing again after today. But yeah, I don't want to obviously dwell on the referee too much. That's not what this video is about. Of course, it's about the players individually. But I think it is like important to clear up just before we get into this that I think the players weren't themselves at fault for today. I do think it's on Moyes today, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think the way we approached the game from the start was wrong, and that's why we've ended up losing it. So that's to be taken into consideration before we go into these individual ratings, which may seem a little more generous than you'd expect, perhaps, for a defeat. But yeah, we'll dive straight in. We'll start with Pickford. Um, Again, away at Anfield, like one of the most richly assembled squads in world football, league champions, and all that. Again, I found myself saying this pretty much every week. We didn't really have a ton to do, no real um, big saves to make, I don't think. Um, and so that always makes it quite hard to judge a goalkeeper's performance. And obviously, distribution enters it into it as well. And again, I think this is again quite a big disclaimer in what I've just said about the tactics and that. Not exactly Pickford's fault. That I think a lot of what we were doing in the first half was going through him and was probably the wrong thing to do. These kind of long balls, looking for Beto in the middle. Um, we all know that's not his game. Like winning headers in the middle of the pitch, despite his size, he's not quite able to use his physicality properly. And against the likes of Van Dijk and Konata, that was only going to end one way, and it ended in efficiency basically, and we weren't able to really get hold of the ball at all in the first half an hour, and that allowed Liverpool to just swamp us. And like I said, they weren't like all over us, creating tons of chances, but when the chances came, they were able to take them, and that's what's going to happen if you sit so deep. But yeah, on with Pickford, let's say it's quite hard to judge him too much based on how little I think he had to do. So I'm just going to give him a regular six. And then moving on to the fence, and again, this kind of all enters into it, the sort of approach we had. But O'Brien, I think, was mostly given a defensive role, and Njaya was allowed to just kind of do what he liked on the right hand side, and O'Brien was mostly tasked with keeping Gakpo quiet, which I think he did very effectively. I very quiet game from Gakpo. No, most of Liverpool's attacks went through down the right hand side. Um, and so yeah, it was good from O'Brien. There was a few nice touches from him as well. Whenever he did get the ball higher up the pitch, and often he offers that outlet with his height, able to win headers if the ball's played long, up against someone like Kirkhead, of course. And yeah, I've been pleased with O'Brien the last few weeks. I think he's definitely repaying that faith we've clearly put him in him to be the first choice option at right back. So yeah, I'm going to give him a seven. Um, and then yeah, the centre backs, Michael Keane and James Tarkowski. Keane just had a solid game for me. I think it wasn't overcomplicated. No real shaky moments from what I remember, and obviously that's something that he's quite unfortunately been associated with, particularly in big games like this. But I thought he handled the occasion pretty well, to be honest. I don't really put either of the goals on him. Possibly the second one could maybe do a bit better to intercept the pass, but I think the damage had already been done at that point. To be fair, they were running rings around us, and we'd already made it too easy for them by that point, and it was a difficult pass for him a difficult pass for him to intercept. So, yeah, no real issues with Keane. Not a amazing performance by any means. So I think a six is fair enough. James Tarkowski made some very important tackles in the second half, which was able to keep our interest and stop them putting away and increasing the winning margin. So yeah, a solid performance from Tarkowski, looking more and more like himself. I think the last two games, I'm going to give him a seven. Um, Showed a faith in the improvement, and I think he's starting to show again why he should be the one who stays in the team once Bramthwaite finally is back to full fitness again, and our defence will be all the more better for that, won't it? And then finally, Mikalenko back in the side today, a bit unexpected. I think me and Harry both said on Thursday we weren't expecting him to be ready to start, but he was put in. Did look a little bit like he was still a bit rusty, and obviously won't be particularly sharp when we're not entirely sure just how fit he actually was. Um, that led to him being caught out quite a few times, to be fair, particularly in the second half as legs began to tire. Um, and obviously still doesn't offer a great deal going forward, which is frustrating. I think yeah, it's probably the weakest point in our side now. I'd say the lack of threat offered on the fullbacks, and obviously Grealish and Jai having to do a lot of the work down the wings. And could do with the support, I imagine, from an overlapping fullback. So yeah, I'm going to give Mikalenko a six. I'd probably potentially go a bit lower if you took away the added context that he's probably not back to full fitness yet. But yeah, not a great game for Mikalenko by any means. And then moving on to the midfield, James Garner obviously got moved back into the midfield with Mikalenko returning at left back. Um, bit of a bit of a nothing game from him, really. I'd say. I think the game kind of passed him by a little bit. It's a criticism I've had for him a lot throughout his Everton career, really. But no real major blunders, I don't think, and but yeah, just basically did his job. I think didn't really make too much of an impression on the game in the sitting role that we seem to have for him now. Um, and yeah, maybe a bit more impact could have been the difference potentially, but I don't know. It obviously a lot of our threat was going through the wings rather than through midfield, and obviously that's what Dewsbury Hall's role is more. I think Garner is right to be a bit more disciplined and a bit more cautious, and is there to try and break up any potential counter attacks that Liverpool might launch on us. So, yeah, no, not an amazing performance from James Garner, but not a bad one by any means. I think a six is fair enough for him. And then Idrissa Gueye, I think, is someone who's going to divide a little bit of opinion, purely because obviously he gets a goal. There was a few very important challenges that he made. A very well taken goal as well, I should say. Very good strike. Um, but yeah, still a bit of a weak point going forward. I think looked a bit off the boil. A few sloppy passes here and there, um, and yeah, just a few lapses in concentration. Really, we all know that he's not the best going forwards, and obviously he's a little more advanced in the midfield than he's used to being now with someone like James Garner or whoever is in that role sitting behind him. But yeah, it's not entirely clear just how functional that's going to be for us going forward, and yeah, I think it cost us a little bit today, to be honest. We could have done with a bit more composure from the player in that role, if I'm being honest. So yeah, just a six for him. I think, despite the goal, that might very well divide a bit of opinion. And then Dewsbury Hall next to him, I'm actually going to give a seven. I actually thought I was quite impressed with him, particularly in the second half. I think he was able to link up play well and was able to bounce off Jack Grealish quite well. They're forming quite a good partnership on the left hand side there. Um, a few intelligent runs through the channel, offering threats in the first half as well. To be fair, when we started to grow into the game towards the end of the first half, we saw that a few times. Um, And yeah, still really pleased with how he's coming on at the moment. And yeah, I'm sure that that first goal is just around the corner from him. And then in attack, in Jai, I'm gonna give a 7 as well. I thought especially in the first half, I think he looked dangerous, constantly trying to like find a gap and unlock the Liverpool defense. Very good assist from him as well, very composed, like just take down for Gay to strike home. Um, and yeah, been really pleased with Njai out on the right hand side, and yeah, definitely still managing to stay as involved in the game as we like. Um, Even with obviously the main man Jack Grealish on the left, who once again was our standout performer, the key man, always looking to get the ball to him. He does really well for the goal, the lofted crossover, and yeah, pretty much any attacking threat we had in this game mostly went through him. Had Connor Bradley um, mostly handled. Obviously, there were a few fouls from Bradley there, which somehow didn't result in a yellow card despite the accumulation. But regardless, yeah, really impressed with Jack Grealish. Was almost given man of the match by TNT Sports, but because he wasn't on the winning side, he wasn't somehow. But yeah, uh, continues to shine for us, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to seeing what he does next. Obviously, looking ahead to Wolves and then West Ham next week. And then finally, Beto, I know is yeah, and someone who's coming for quite a bit of criticism again today. Um, I think it's got to be taken into consideration that it is a very thankless task what he was being asked to do. Still think we're not quite playing to his strengths really, and um, if this is how we want to play, and I do think it has to be Barry starting for the foreseeable. I think while Barry didn't shine when he came on, he was clearly a lot more effective at what we needed to do and was able to create more space for Njai and Grealish and Dewsbury Hall, whereas Beto mostly just kind of gets in the way a little bit and obviously does his running and does his pressing, but yeah, to little effect and just isn't able to hold up the ball like Barry is and stuff and use his strength effectively as I've mentioned. So yeah, a frustrating time for Beto, I'm sure, but I think Barry's got to be. I think he showed in this set with the second half today that he has to be given a run of games. And I think he'll be starting against Wolves on Tuesday and hopefully starting against West Ham next week. So yeah, a six for Beto, and then yeah, with and obviously with Dribbling and Alcaraz coming on late on, there was no real time for them to have too much of an impact on the game. Really, Liverpool had pretty much shut off any threat we had by that point, frustratingly. But so yeah, that pretty much rounds off this video. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment below giving your ratings for the players and yeah, another frustrating derby defeat as I mentioned at the start. I think we all accept there probably could have been a bit more for us in this game, but it seems to almost be that same story every year, really. But yeah, we move on to better things, hopefully, against Wolves on Sunday and then West Ham next weekend. Two teams both struggling for form at the moment, so hopefully we can take advantage of that. So yeah, like the video, subscribe to the Toffee Blues channel for more Everton content, and we will see you in the next one. Up the Toffees.